Most of you grew up under the influence of the Second Vatican Council. In fact, it was one of the greatest events of the past 50 years. It started in the early 1960s and just changed the whole life of the church as we know it. But prior to that, the bishops of this country met in Baltimore on a number of occasions to answer the question, what are we going to do with this great influx of new Catholics? And so they devised this vehicle to spread the faith. It was a catechism that came out of Baltimore, and many people would remember that as the Baltimore Catechism. That's how I grew up, and probably some of you remember the Baltimore Catechism. I'll bet you there's some of you that even have possession of a Baltimore Catechism. The Baltimore Catechism was a series of questions and answers. Who is God? God is the supreme being who made all things. Why did God make me? God made me to know Him, to love Him, and to serve Him in this life so as to be happy with Him in the next. And even though we've experienced since then the Second Vatican Council with all the wonderful teachings that came forth from the Second Vatican Council, the teachings of the Baltimore Catechism have never changed. They've just been refined. So I want to speak to you about knowing, loving, and serving God in this fashion. Each year in our diocese, we have an appeal. And this appeal challenges people just like yourself to be overly generous so that the diocese itself can function and the various ministries of the diocese can continue on.
The Diocese of Shreveport has helped us in our pro-life mission for the last 7 years. We have helped over 2,300 young women who find themselves in unplanned pregnancies. When a young woman is in an unplanned pregnancy, the first thing she thinks is, I am afraid. So Mary's House offers these young women free pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, peer counseling, and help getting a doctor at no cost to her.
We started campus ministry here in 2021, and how we've done that, since there's no student center here in this area, we partnered with Carpenter Coffee House to really engage the community, the young, vibrant community, St. Joseph, and all the surrounding areas here in Shreveport, Bossier City, to really build that central location for fellowship, studying, and it's all thanks to you and your support, continuous prayers, and we hope to continue to grow in a very tremendous way.
This is a good ministry. It really helps the men. And not only that, it helps their families because the families are also locked up just like the men are. So I would say one of the most important things about our ministry is we have the opportunity to speak to the men, to look at them and talk with them. And not only that, some of the things that we do, we teach them about the Catholic faith, the rosary classes. As Pope Francis says, everybody has an opportunity to be a saint. And I work with a couple of saints.
The seminary is really important for the development of priests because when you decide, you can't decide or discern that I'm going to be a priest without the involvement of the diocese, without the involvement of the church, without the involvement of the people. And so the seminary and the diocese play these roles in that. The priests are essential because without priests, that's the sacramentality of the church where our sacraments come from. And it's the mission of the priest, as I think my ordination, the bishop said it, is to bring people to God and bring God to the people. And so that's the role of the priest. And so if people are to grow in holiness and seek that, then they will need priests to serve them, to help them in that way.
I think Catholic education is a experience that you can't really get anywhere besides a Catholic school. It's prepared me to be a good and responsible person, but also being a kind and considerate person and looking through things as Jesus would see.
We knew this is where we were going to send our daughters because we thought it was so important to educate not only their minds but their souls. We want to make our kids productive members of society. We want to teach them to give back and to make the world a better place for having been here.
El Ministerio Hispano está aquí para apoyar a las personas que no hablan inglés, ayudarlos a conectarnos con su fe, con otros fieles y en otras necesidades que tengan. Y a las personas que ya están, ayudarlas a continuar con su fe para que no se pierdan. La Iglesia provee estos servicios. Tenemos clases de Biblia, clases para todos los sacramentos, tenemos grupos de jóvenes, grupos de oración de adultos, tenemos retiros para jóvenes, para hombres, para mujeres, para matrimonios y muchos otros más. Así como hay muchas personas de otras nacionalidades, así el Ministerio Hispano, venimos aquí a lo que fuimos llamados, a construir el reino de Dios. Y aparte de educarnos con los valores de la fe, también aprendemos el idioma y enseñamos el nuestro a quienes están interesados. Como Ministerio Hispano, tenemos muchísima diversidad cultural y la compartimos con otros.
The Catholic Connection is a monthly publication published by the Diocese of Shreveport. It has been in print for over 30 years, and because of the generosity of your stewardship appeal, we have been able to keep it ad-free and free of charge for everybody in the diocese, and we are the only diocesan magazine and newspaper to do that in our state. The point of the magazine is to foster the application of Christ's teachings and to provide inspiration, recipes, school news, everything that you can think of that's happening within the diocese is within the Catholic Connection.
The appeal next year will be a complete change from what we experienced in the past, but for now, the needs are still there, and the ministries are still there. And the Catholic Center, with all the wonderful people that work here in their various ministries, they're still there. And that's why we need your generous support. Without that support, we can't function. So please, first of all, pray about what it is that you can give. Please be generous. You will never outdo God in generosity, by the way. And then give. And I ask on behalf of all these wonderful recipients of your generosity, your help. God bless you.